Hello and welcome to the November 18th edition of Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder, the most hardcore motorsports program on the internet. This is episode 225 of the series. I'm your host, Adam Jason Sinclair, and on tonight's program, Mykkal Mulalley Kapalo and myself will be talking about IMSA racing, as well as chatting about whatever other motorsports topics come into the conversation. The show did get started a couple minutes late tonight, unfortunately, because I just can't be in more than one place at once, but I'm trying my best. So we'll get connected momentarily, and we'll see how this goes. I see that our guest is currently connected, but I'm waiting for our co-host. She should be on in a minute or two. Let's go ahead and see. There she is. How you doing this evening?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you, and Mykkal, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. So go ahead and get going with your introduction, because we're running a couple minutes late, but we'll go ahead and get going now.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So, Moritz Kranz and Ugo de Wield did everything they could by winning the IMSA Prototype Challenge season finale Thursday morning at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. It wasn't quite enough, however, to stop Josh Sarche and Dakota Dickerson from winning the championship. Kranz and de Wield controlled the 1 hour, 45-minute race, leading all but 2 of 67 laps in the number 21 Mueller Motorsports America. Dekeen, I know I said that wrong. D08 and taking the checkered flag 3.191 seconds ahead of the pack. Sarche and Dickerson needed to finish at least 5th to sew up the crown, and despite some late dramatics and with an assist from a competitor, did just that in the number 54 MLT Motorsports. Oh man, Lear JSP. Yeah, thank you. I knew I was going to screw some of them up. It gave Sarche and Dickerson a 10-point cushion over Kranz in the finale Le Mans Prototype 3-1 LMP 3-1 class standings.
Kranz, who drove in all 6 Prototype Challenge races this year, sometimes solo and sometimes with a co-driver, started from the pole position and built a 22-second advantage before a full course caution with just more than an hour remaining. He turned the car over to de Wield, who occasionally was threatened by Trent Hinman in the number 7 Volt Racing with Archangel Ligier, but never surrendered the lead. Dickerson took over the number 54 Ligier for Sarche in the final hour as well, and was comfortably riding in 3rd place when the final caution flag came out. The field squeezed, coming to the restart with 17 minutes to go, and Dickerson was tapped from behind by Rasmus Lind in the number 6 Performance Tech Motorsports Ligier.
Dickerson plunged to 7th place, knowing he had to gain 2 spots in a hurry. He charged. He quickly pushed number 54 into 6th place, but couldn't find a way to pass Garrett Grease, number 33 JR3 Racing Ligier, as the laps and clock ticked away. Suddenly, with less than 3 minutes remaining, Grease pulled aside to let Dickerson into 5th position and hand the championship to a fellow Ligier. The
final points margin was as close as it could be. Sarche, Dickerson, and the number 54 MLT Ligier, with 1 race win and podium finishes in every race by the finale, totaled 1,850 points. Kranz and the number 21 Mueller Duquesne had 3 victories, but wound up with 1,840 points by finishing 2nd in the race. Hinman, Alex Brynjolfsson, and the number 7 Volt Ligier advanced to 3rd in the final standings with 1,600 points. Although it took a few extra minutes this evening, we're now pleased to welcome Dakota Dickerson back to the show. How you doing this evening?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Doing pretty well here. First off, I want to shake things up a little bit. I've got the good questions from my co-host, Mykkal Mulalley in Afraid of Washington, and she's going to go ahead and get started with you this evening.
Okay. So my first question for you this evening, when you realized the championship was riding on an at least 5th place finish, what kind of pressure did that put on you, if any?
Well, I think going into the race weekend, obviously we knew where we stood in the championship, and like you said, we had to finish 5th in the race to lock it up, regardless of anything else that happened during the race. And we felt really confident. We had a really fast car in testing, and if you look at our races throughout the year, we had been on the podium in every single event. So we knew if we just followed the same procedures and the same mindset that we had going into the other weekends, that we were likely to not only stand on the podium and win the championship, but hopefully win another race. And that's the way it was looking for about 90% of the race, really. We had good pace. Josh did a great job in some really tricky conditions. Rained overnight, so the track was wet. They had to go on dry tires in 40-degree weather, so it was super challenging for the first stint for him. Handed off to me in second. We lost a position during the pit cycle, but we knew we were still really solid for a podium finish, and the car was quite good. And then the final restart, everything kind of got a bit hectic, as one could imagine. And we took a pretty big hit from the number 6 car from behind on the restart, which dropped us back, I think, to 7th, as you mentioned. And from there, it was really go time, because the 21 car was leading the pack and knew exactly where we needed to finish in the race. And that's where the pressure, I guess, was where you could most feel it, because for sure, knowing that we had only 2 more spots to go, but 10 minutes left in the race, there was a lot of pressure to get those final 2 spots. And luckily we were able to secure one in a pretty normal fashion. And then the JR3 car, being a fellow Ligier, really helped us out there at the end.
And you and your entire team obviously worked really hard all season to get to where you guys were as far as position for the championship. But how special was it when Greece pulled aside to let you into 5th place with 3 minutes remaining of the championship race?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said there at the beginning of your question, I think MLT, the whole team, drivers and team, Ligier, everybody worked incredibly hard all year to get us into that position where we could go into the final race with a bit of a points buffer. It took a lot of time, effort, and money to get there, and so to be able to reward the team with podium finishes throughout the year was really special, and definitely getting the championship locked up, albeit in an unusual fashion, is super rewarding for their efforts. And certainly wouldn't have wanted to win the championship the way we did, but at the end of the day, the hard work that the team put in throughout the entire season is what got us to that point. And we were still fighting hard even in the last few minutes. So it's an incredibly special feat for a team that only started, racing together in 2019 and being a part of that program since the beginning. It's incredibly special, and that a big part of that goes out to Dr. Mike and the whole MLT Motorsports team, along with Ligier, for making it happen.
You and your team came out on top. Other than a championship, though, what will you guys take with you from this season onto the next season?
Yeah, I think our eyes have always been set on getting into the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Being on the same weekends, running the same cars, some of the guys that are in the big show, it's obviously makes us very envious of them, and we're working hard to get into that route too. I think we've made a lot of big strides as a team, both on the driving, the team side, the infrastructure side as well. We've been working really hard to get the program to a point where we believe we can not only compete but win in those ranks. And so the team has taken those steps, the drivers have taken the steps to make sure that we're able to win at that level. And with a $100,000 scholarship that IMSA provided to the drivers this year as well, we'll take some of those funds into WeatherTech next year and hopefully make that successful step up into the big show and start winning races there.
And what track this season did you personally feel like your team excelled the most at?
There's quite a few different. So for us in IMSA Prototype Challenge, we have 6 different races at 6 different tracks. Our most successful one on paper was by far Watkins Glen. We went there. Josh qualified off pole. Again, some pretty tricky conditions with mixed weather coming in during the race, but our car was phenomenal there. Our pace was kind of unmatched. Other than actually the JR3 car with Garrett Grist, they've been really fast all year. but just some misfortune happened to them too. But our pace at Watkins was super quick. I think we ended up winning that race by like 19 seconds, and the execution on the team side and on the drivers was nearly flawless, which is always super special when you walk away from a weekend like that. I think we also had a lot of different key elements into this race, really leaning on the team side of things, where you look at Mid-Ohio, we had a drive-through penalty. The team bounced back. We ended up working our way back through the field in a position where we were all the way back in 8th. I think at one point we finished 3rd in that race, securing some really, really strong points. Again, everything mattered towards the end of this championship. And then again at VIR, our only 3-hour race of the year, we were leading, I think, at the midpoint in the race. We were a bit off strategy on purpose, and we had a tire blow on us going up through the S's at VIR. Again, team did a fantastic job in the pit lane, got the repairs done, sent us back out without losing a lap. Then we ended up coming back to finish 2nd in that race. So a lot of hard work and dedication from the team, and definitely walking away with the championship. It always seems so smooth on paper, and it seems like a happy story, but it was a lot of hard work and dedication, and definitely keeping our eyes focused on the goal and making sure we're focused on what we can control. And at the end of the day, that's what got us this championship.
Well, you had a really great season, but what was one of the toughest moments for you this season?
Oh, it's by far the last restart of the last race was the toughest one. Honestly, the season was, although it had its challenges, like I was just talking about, and we overcame so many of those challenges, the season was relatively smooth. The only real big, question mark was that last restart of the last race, and it's unfortunate that it happened the way it happened, because it wasn't Rasmus's fault or the number 6 car's fault that they got into us from behind. It was a massive stack up that happened on the restart. That we were all moving so quick. The leader had to have been going well above 80, 90 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden everybody came to a stop and caused that big stack up. So it's unfortunate that it happened the way it happened, but again, things fell into place, and we controlled what we could control and let everything else fall into place. So the last 5 minutes of the season were definitely the most stressful, and I'm glad it still came out the way it did. But yeah, it's never over till it's over. But again, the team put in a lot of work. We got this car, this Ligier, the new GSP 320. It's an amazing car. It's by far the best platform out there in the LMP3 ranks right now. And we got it a week before the race at Daytona, and the amount of work that the team put in to getting the car from France to here, shaking it down, and then finishing 2nd at Daytona, all within a week of getting the car, and then backing that up with podium finishes after podium finishes, a win, and then more podium finishes. It's pretty astounding. So I couldn't be happier with the way the season went, but yeah, the last 5 minutes of it could have definitely been less stressful.
Well, my final question for you today, do you have any big plans in store for the off season?
The off season is super tight this year with COVID. I'm sure, as you guys know, following all the series, it's been since the series basically got pushed back to mid-November. We've only got about 6 weeks until the season starts. So whatever I guess you could consider as the off season is going to be crunch time. I'll enjoy Thanksgiving next week, and then we'll start looking at some winter testing for Daytona and things like that as well. I don't know if MLT will be competing in the 24 Hours of Daytona, just given the timeline of everything from the end of this IPC season into the start of WeatherTech, but we'll certainly be looking at some testing here in the winter, and then hopefully finalizing some programs both for Prototype Challenge and then also for WeatherTech with MLT and a couple other fun items that I've got going on my personal side for some other racing as well.
I know you've mentioned before that you're involved not only in the IMSA series, but in several other racing series, as well as doing some coaching. What's your most rewarding thing that you did this year, insofar as the coaching side?
Yeah, on the coaching side, there's been a lot of really fun endeavors that I've had. I've worked on the junior formula side again this year with VRD, and that's always super rewarding, working with the young kids that are coming up through the ranks and kind of going through the same career path that I did when I was going through the junior formula side. And And there's been a lot of really great kids that we've worked with and had a lot of great success over on that side too. And then also on the coaching side, I've gotten the chance to work with some old friends that I met back in the Skip Barber days. We're doing a small prototype program in the World Racing League, which has been incredibly fun and rewarding, just working with such a great group of friends, and then also kind of experiencing a new side of the motorsports community on more of like the club endurance racing level. It's super fun to be active in that as well. And then I've also gotten the chance to, it's been a busy year, but I've gotten the chance to work with some people on the junior Formula side on the West Coast with World Speed, and that's been fun working with some of the not the older drivers, but some maybe the more experienced drivers there, and that's been really cool, as well as being able to help the GT3 Academy out with a little bit of private testing coaching that they've got going on there. So it's been super rewarding on the coaching side, been super busy. Looking forward to kind of doing more of the same next year as well, and look forward to filling up the calendar again.
I don't know if you've been following it at all. I saw the latest winner in the Trans Am series was Matt Brabham, who has a similar resume to yours. I know he's a couple of years older. Have you ever considered racing in the Trans Am series?
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm open to racing whatever gets thrown my way. I actually had a really cool opportunity to test a TA2 car. I think this was back in 2018. I raced with Newman Walks in USF 2000 and 2017, and they were actually briefly they had a TA2 car that was kind of like a feeder or a training platform for a lot of the NASCAR guys. So they were using those TA2 cars, and so I got a chance to shake one of those down for Newman Walks, and it was definitely a blast. I think getting more and more experience just in any sort of car and would be fun. And the racing looks really cool, especially at the TA2 ranks. It seems like it's a massive class. I think they had like a record number at COTA just recently. It's like over 50 cars or something like that. So it seems like a really unique series and a pretty unique platform too, that would be vastly different from the GT3 and the LMP3 ranks that I'm currently competing in.
I know you just mentioned the numbers there in Trans Am. There was a recent interview with Doonan of IMSA, who stated that he thinks that this coming year at Daytona will be almost a record-setting field there. How do you think that do you agree with that, first off? And do you think that the series is on the right track? It seems like it is. What's your opinion?
Yeah, I think I 100% agree that I think we're going to see some record numbers next year. Just being involved in some of the discussions within the paddock, I think you're going to see a huge increase in the P3 side of the paddock. I think you'll see a pretty good increase in the GTD side of things too, with GTD Pro and GTD coming along next year. So I think you're going to see a big influx of those cars. I think you might see a couple more P2 cars come into the mix, especially for the 24 as well. I wouldn't be surprised if at some places you're going to see entry lists starting to get maxed out and pit stalls starting to get maxed out. I think IMSA in particular has done a really good job of not only expanding the series, but also consolidating it in a way where it's not, where I should say it's more concise and it's easier for the fans to follow along. I think with GTD and GTD Pro coming along, it makes it a lot easier. I think having a 3 or 4 class format of the top ranks makes a lot of sense. And then once you see the LMDH cars come out, it's going to make things very interesting. So I think IMSA is taking a really good step in the right direction. And I think it's going to be really exciting to see so many cars on track at the same time.
I know it's still a little early to say, but what race are you most looking forward to next season?
There's a lot of different races that I've got kind of on the horizon, I should say, in the calendar. We're in discussions with HPD and Acura, obviously having the success that we had this year, transitioning from the HPD GT3 Academy into then doing some GT3 races with Racers Edge Motorsports in GT World Challenge America. We finished on the podium in every single race other than the one race where we had a bit of a mechanical DNF, but still a really good year either way. And we're going to look to carry that progress into next year. So a lot of discussions in the air right now in terms of which series I'll be running in. But if I can do any races in the GT3, that'll be very, very exciting. And then on the P3 side, I think looking at some of the WeatherTech races, I would love to do the 24 hours. I think if I could get that race on the calendar secure, that's probably going to be number one on my list for next year.
Awesome. Well, we'd like to thank you very much for coming back on the show tonight, and hopefully next year we can expand on your special correspondent thing, have you on a few extra times, and have keep track of your career and all the different things going on in the world of motorsports.
Absolutely. No, always a pleasure. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the time.
Thank you very much, and have a great evening.
You as well. And happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you. Happy Thanksgiving. Have a very Merry Christmas as well.
Thanks, guys.
Are you a race car driver, crew chief, pit member, track owner? Maybe you're just a huge fan of the sport. Contact us to get your spot on the show. After all, you deserve every 15 minutes of fame, and we'd love to hear from you. The motorsports world is quickly winding down now. There's only the Formula One left in the very big world of motorsports. There's got at least one more race left. It's really tight there between Verstappen and Hamilton as far as who's going to take the championship lead and finish off the season. What's your pick? Who do you think is going to be the ultimate champion in the world of Formula One this year?
Oh, gosh. No, I'm going to be honest. I'm honestly not sure. I don't know. It's been a while, honestly, since I've watched Formula One.
You can't say that. I'm actually trying to get a little bit more involved in Formula One now because they've got a Formula One race taking place in Miami Gardens, Florida next year, which is less than, if everything works well, it's about an hour south of here. So I was hoping to get tickets in the pre-race thing, but that didn't happen because they have way too many people interested. They're capping the ticket sales at 80,000 seats per day, and they've had 250,000 people interested in those 80,000 seats. That really doesn't work out very well. But I'm hoping that we end up getting down there. If we don't, that's fine. But I'm hoping to at least get to see some of the Formula One action, whether it's a pre-race day or some sort of test thing or something. Honestly, it's really amazing to see those cars. I've never actually seen one racing in an event. I've seen them on TV. I've got to see one in a historic race before, so that's pretty awesome. I didn't get to see when they competed in Daytona when they had the Ferrari testing thing there. That would have been pretty cool to see. So I'm hoping that we get to see some Formula One action next season, although I'm not 100% sure that will happen. My personal pick, I think that if everything goes well, Hamilton is in his own class. He's the sort of guy who, if he wants to win, he's going to win. Verstappen is amazing. Max Verstappen is an amazing driver. But I think that it's Hamilton's race to lose. It always has been. And when he's behind, as he is right now, he's going to be well driven to win the championship this year again. And it'll be pretty cool to see him do that. If he doesn't, that's fine. Verstappen is an amazing driver, as I stated. Verstappen will be a good champion as well. But I think it's really Hamilton's race to lose. And hopefully he wins it. And that would be kind of neat. So, again, there's not very many races still going on. Everything's starting to wrap up now. The NHRA recently wrapped up with their event. I did a little bit of coverage of that. I did a story for SpeedwayDigest.com. Not getting all the NHRA emails for whatever reason now, but I am trying to keep a little bit of track of that. I'm hoping also that a lot of hope here, that the NHRA winter warm-up is taking place again at Palm Beach International Raceway. There's no reason to think it isn't, but I do know that Palm Beach International will probably closing down next spring. So the winter warm-up might be one of the biggest final events we've got hanging out there. So it'd be cool to see that again. As far as the races that we're planning on going to next season, so far, the race will be the Rolex 24 at Daytona. We're planning on heading out there for the roar before the Rolex 24, probably on the 21st of January. That's a Friday. So if you see somebody out there in a Speedway Digest shirt, come out and say hello. I'm hoping that I have my Speedway Digest shirt again by that time. Probably going to order one for the off season. Also going to try and head out there for the race, of course, the Rolex 24. That's the following weekend. I'm going to be there for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, weather permitting and all that. But we're going to try and get at least 12 hours of the race in. That's generally the goal, plus the Friday events as well. So hopefully that happens. Knock on pressed board and all that still takes place. But that's on the schedule, as well as the Sebring race, the 12 hours of Sebring. We're planning on heading up there either for Friday or Saturday. I don't think we're going to do both days, but we might end up doing both days. You never know. I was really planning on going there this year, but the COVID-19 had other plans. The race did take part, but I had a wicked cold, and I just didn't want to take the chance of having it turn into something else. So I didn't end up making it to Sebring this year, but I am planning on making it next year, and it'll be pretty cool to see that. We're also thinking about going up to the Trans Am race, which is why part I brought the Trans Am thing to Dakota there. There's a Trans Am race in February at Sebring. I believe it's February 26th, so we're trying to head up there for that. Might be interesting to see that. I know we are going to, my wife and I will be taking another cruise around that time, but I think that the February 26th is a Saturday, and we'll be heading out on the cruise on Sunday, so it'll make it busy, but it could happen. What's on your next big racing agenda?
Well, there's really nothing next on the agenda because there's really nothing race-wise around here right now. It's actually snowing right now, which is wonderful. I really dislike the snow. But my nephew has started painting his race car. So at some point, I think I'm going to go over there and help him paint some more of his car. And yeah, so I think he's just going to be our little project this winter. And hopefully we have more racing news next year.
Hopefully. I know it's you should do some ice racing. That's what you need to do. Head out there to the frozen tundra and go around with the insane people.
Yeah, that actually sounds kind of fun.
Well, it's going to be an interesting year next year. There's a lot of big things going on in the world of racing. The new NASCAR stock car will be coming out next season with the one lug nut and all the adjustments in the transmission and the ride height and all the different things there, and the new bodies. And it's going to be pretty cool in the world of NASCAR. We haven't touched on that much, but we are interested in that as well. So that'll be kind of cool. I saw some of the testing footage yesterday of that. So that'll be neat. Also in the world of the NHRA, which I'm planning on heading out to the Gator Nationals probably next year. The NHRA has a new Supra in a funny car that was unveiled this past weekend. So that's kind of cool. I did a little piece on SpeedwayDigest.com about that. Be sure to check that out. And of course, there's all the new stuff going on in the world of IMSA and sports cars with the LMDHs and the changes in P3, as well as the end of an era for the GTLM. There is no more GT Le Mans series here in this country. It's being phased out in Europe as well. They're changing stuff around out there with different sorts of cars and different models in the racing in Europe. So it is an interesting thing in the world of racing. I'm going to be talking in the future of racing, of course. I'm going to be talking to the guy from Extreme E, which we were supposed to talk to last week. It didn't happen. It's unfortunate, but I'm working on getting him rescheduled. It'll probably be an early morning interview for him, and we'll see how that goes. I might end up doing a special show again, or we might end up having it recorded and have him on later. But the world of Extreme E is the future of racing, whether we like it or not. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Formula E also has some adjustments that they're doing in Formula E that we're going to talk to with the guy there from Excite Racing as well. So hopefully that interview will be coming up in the next few days. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get him to agree to an interview during the weekend, but I'm trying to get him on as soon as possible. I wanted to talk to him sometime this week, but it just isn't working out quite as well as I was hoping. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I've got an email sitting in my inbox from them, and we'll see if that works out. Once again, I'd like to thank Dakota Dickerson for coming on the show tonight. He's been a great friend of the program. He's also a pretty good guy in person. If you had a chance to say hello to him at any of the races that he competes in, he hangs out around the paddock. He's really good with the fans. He's a really good competitor and a good ambassador for the sport of auto racing. So be sure to say hello to him at your local racetrack when you see him out there. He is pretty much everywhere in the world of racing, in Formula Cars and in IMSA, as well as in the GT3 series. He does a few races there. So that's pretty cool, and he's a great guy to talk to about what's going on in the modern motorsports world. Be sure to check out past episodes of Thursday Night Thunder, as well as the other shows on the Speedway Digest Radio Network, of which there are a couple. There'll hopefully be more next year, at speedwaydigest.podbean.com. We have been the only show on the Speedway Digest Radio Network, the only live show this year, and I thank the Stephen Wilson of SpeedwayDigest.com for allowing me to host this program on pretty much a weekly basis. We're going to take next week off, of course, for Thanksgiving, but I'm hoping to be back in 2 weeks. I do not know what the off-season schedule is for this show. I know that most of the shows on the network in the past have taken some time off, including this one. So we'll let you know as soon as we know. I'll post it on Twitter, as well as on the Speedway Digest Radio Network page and the Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder page on Facebook, which you can find by searching for Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder in the search bar, or simply by going to facebook.com/SD Thursday Night Thunder. I also invite you to read the articles covering all aspects of motorsports at SpeedwayDigest.com. I've been doing a lot of work lately for the racing news section, of course, so you can check that out. I do have quite a few articles that are in the hopper right now that will be posted either tomorrow or probably this weekend. The amount of articles is slowing down because as the season winds down, the content that I'm provided, the quality goes down quite a bit. And I don't think that some of the stuff needs to be shared, but there is some great motorsports news going on, especially in the world of rallycross. So we'll check that out and we'll share that with you as soon as we get a chance to, probably tomorrow, but possibly on Saturday. In addition, if you're a fan of South Florida and who isn't, be sure to check out the latest news and information of our slice of paradise at my blog site, Football Plum's Fantastic Finds. It can be found on Facebook, Twitter. The easiest way to find it is at PB Happening, but you can also find it at Football Plums, and by heading to Football Plum's fantasticfinds.wordpress.com. That's FABORPLUMBS, fantasticfinds.wordpress.com.
Thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks, tentatively, in the Thunderdome as we discuss the major issues in the world of modern auto racing.
Again, we're hoping to be back in 2 weeks, but I am not entirely sure as to when the off-season break is going to take place. I'm planning on having a show here in 2 weeks, and we've got some interesting guests to share with you, including a person from the world of horse racing, as well as possibly the guy there from Excite Racing, which is involved in Formula E as well as the Extreme E Series. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and if we don't see you until next season, have a very happy holiday season as well. Thank you again, and we'll see you later.